Okay, then we have enough people in the classroom, so we can start. So, welcome everyone to the intro to matte painting. Um, this class will be basically me talking. It should it will be a repeat from the previous class, but I've changed some things a bit. I've expanded on some things a bit, so it's not going to be exactly the same. Uh, Based on the last time, I think this will be like 2 hours or 3 hours long. So we will have a 5 minute break at 1 hour mark each. And I've been working on this presentation for some time, and I've cut out 4 parts. So like 4 segments. So I thought that when I finish this presentation, I finish this talk, we could have a Q&A if anyone has any questions, and if anyone has interest, will, strength to hear about these 4 segments, we can have like a bonus round when I talk about them too. So let's start. Uh, so today we are going to talk briefly about history of matte paintings, how what they are, and how they did it back then, before digital. We will talk about digital matte paintings too, how they do matte paintings today. About tasks, we're gonna quickly cover tasks, tools, and common techniques. And then we are going to have this block of talk, which is the will be the main course for tonight. This is the basically the reason why we're having this talk tonight. So what uh, digital matte painting artist job actually is. Uh, we're gonna briefly talk about common myths and misconceptions you see online and with newbie matte painters. Uh, and we're gonna talk about matte painters' mindset. This is very, very important. And in the end, we will talk about plans about future classes. But first, who am I? You know me on this server, you know me as Snowman, but my real name is Nemanja Dojkic, and I'm a freelance matte painter and concept artist from Serbia. I've started working in the industry in 2014 in a small VFX studio called Krater after finishing a matte painting course. I worked there for 3 years and then I quit and went freelance. So the things I'm going to tell you tonight are based on my professional experience. So what is a matte painting? It is simply put an extension of the movie set or set made from scratch in post-production. It used to be a painting on glass. Nowadays it's made digital using 3D and photos. Uh, Basically, when you want to film a scene in a location that doesn't exist, and you can't completely create it with physical set, or you can't even do that at all because of various reasons. That's when the matte painters come in and make them for you nice and easy. So on the left, we have the famous last scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Uh, it's basically a guy, not to spoil the movie if you haven't seen it, but we have a guy pushing a cart with a large box on it in a huge, like impossibly huge storage building. And basically, uh, the live action parts of this scene are this guy and this pavement, probably this part of pavement, and the rest of it was painted. Like literally everything else is literally a painting on glass. And on the right, I don't know which movie this is. Um, it is its VFX were made by Studio Pixelmondo. On the upper right, you have the original footage, so you have a couple of actors on a real set in the green screen, and this is a shot from the movie. So instead of green screen, they extended this alley like 10 or more meters forward, and in the far distance we can see some buildings and sky and fog coming out of chimneys. So like I said, matte paintings used to be paintings on glass, hence the name. So how did they achieve this magic? This is a scene from Star Wars Episode 5 where Han Solo and his party meet Lando in the Sky City. It is made from two layers, basically. Uh, one is live action, and the other one is a painting. So how did they do this? Before filming the shot, the filmmakers planned it out. So how the positions of actors, how the shot is conceptually, how the shot is supposed to look, etc. But the most importantly, they planned out the position of the camera and which parts are going to be replaced with a matte painting. When they finally filmed the scene, they would position the camera and then literally put a piece of cardboard on it and cut out the parts where the live action footage is positioned. So in the end, when they film it, it would the film roll would look something like this. Then they would take a piece of glass, mark it similarly, and give it to the matte painter. He would then he would basically paint out the rest of the scene and avoid the black marks. As you can see here, the Millennium Falcon was only partially a set. Most of it was a painting. So when you have these two layers, live action and the painting, they would integrate it into they would composite those images together in one image, this one. And how they did it, I'm not sure that I completely understand the process. So they basically took this roll of film and this image, and using a large projection machines, they would project those two images into a separate roll of film. And you can find some videos of it on YouTube. It looks very interesting. Like they use huge projection machines. They use a specially built room for this task, but on the other hand, it also looks tedious and quite time-consuming. Also note that the live-action part of the scene and the matte painting, they don't overlap, and that is a big limitation of technology back then. You couldn't overlap matte paintings and live action, so all matte painting shots had to be static or have a minimal camera movement. So eventually traditional matte paintings got phased out in favor of digital, and I think that the last big movie that used the traditional matte paintings was Titanic. Today's matte paintings, which are sometimes called digital matte paintings or DMPs, are made with photo bashing and 3D. Because of that, they are way easier to make. We can make them more believable and have no limitations, unlike traditional matte paintings. So we can do a lot of things today. We can do moving shots. We can do live action. Live action footage can overlap. We can even do some things in close-ups and extreme close-ups, etc. Here are the these are the shots from Mad Max Fury Road. Here we have two shots, like so on the bottom is before, and on the top is the final image. We can see I'm not sure which scene this was, which part of the movie this is, but obviously the shot is moving. We can do that. Note that there's a rock in the foreground. This was probably done by a matte painter. Also, you can see that the rocks have been heavily altered. Sky has been replaced here. We have some bunch of rocks in the background, etc. Okay, now that we work digitally, matte painters can do more things. Back in the day, matte painter job was painting locations on glass and pretty much nothing else. That was your job. Now they have more ways of making matte paintings, but also have more duties. Like today, as a matte painter, one of the big things that you have to do is actually help assemble the DMP into the scene. So actually, matte painters become more involved into the production of the scene. Actually, also they can help in many other ways. They can do like cleanups. They can add or remove little elements, which is something they couldn't do back then. And actually, they sometimes they can help other artists in making other types of VFX. Okay, sorry, just a second. Just a second, guys. Excuse me. Okay. So tools. What tools do we use? There are actually plenty of tools, but let's start with 3D tools. So the industry standard is that we use is Maya. There are some oddballs that use 3ds Max, which is okay, I guess, if it works for you. I've heard there's also software called Houdini, which is extremely powerful and extremely complicated software, to be honest. It's used for making particles and for procedural modeling. I've heard that it is slowly replacing Maya, but we won't be talking about it. I don't know Houdini, and you probably don't know anyone who knows who knows Houdini, to be honest. And some people like to use Blender. We will be using Blender in our classes, but because it's free and therefore everyone can afford it. But I really have to note that Blender is not optimal for matte painting workflow, because currently Blender, I mean, I love Blender, it's great, but it's not it's kind of unstable. When you have a scene with a couple of millions of polygons, and sometimes you'll be forced to work on shots that are like super detailed, the whole scene tends to chug. And I'm not talking about the rendering, I'm talking about the viewport performance. But like I said, Blender is free, everyone can have it, and it's not the best situation, but we will make the most of it. And as long as you aren't too ambitious with your matte painting, I think we can work with it. So we have also 2D tools, which we use to do photo bashing, and we will be using Photoshop. Now you can use any other software that you like. I think you can get away with using Krita. The thing is, and I will demonstrate it in the next class, we won't be using Photoshop much. Maybe we'll probably use about 30% of Photoshop, if not less. So I think that Krita should be enough. And also, Krita is free. So there's something called a compositing tool, and it's called the Nuke. It's industry standard for assembling scenes and effects in movies, and we will be using it to assemble our 3D matte paintings and our 3D projections when the time comes. And it's free. It's I think it has become, there's a free version that was released like a year ago, I think, and it's still getting updated, and there are some limitations on the free version, but they're so esoteric that they're almost irrelevant to us. So this is perfect. So these aren't tools, but we often use them, so I wanted to mention them. So when we do photo badges, we really need high quality photos, and for the easiest way is to buy many photo packs that are on the internet. Like there are plenty of them on ArtStation. There's photobash.com, which is a website that is dedicated for making and selling these photo packs. And trust me when I tell you that when you're working on a real project and it's serious, you do not want to spend a whole day looking for photos on the internet. It's a huge waste of time. There are also 3D kits, like the ones from kitbash3d.com. They are in a similar way. They are like modular sets of kits with a theme, like Asian architecture, Roman architecture, modern cities, etc. They are not they're not prevalent as photo packs, and they're much more situational than photo packs because of that, but they're really useful to have if you have a need for them. And by the way, if any one of you is even slightly interested in this course, I suggest that you go to Kitbash 3D right now, because I think they currently they have one of their 3D kits for free. And I think once or a couple of times a year, they always have some 3D kits for free. Yes, Rune Collector, thank you. So basically, just make an account and download their kit for free, and that's it. We'll definitely be using these kits. If you don't have a Kitbash 3D kit, that's okay. We will. I've got you covered. We'll probably make very low poly buildings or objects from these 3D kits. And but I suggest that you download them anyway. So there are also a bunch of additional tools that are used for specific purpose. Like there's a world machine that is used for creating landscapes. Speed tree used for creating like custom trees. ZBrush and 3D Coat, I think you heard about them. They are sculpting tools. Most likely you'd use them to sculpt rocks and cliffs or similar, but they're, like I said, they're very situational, and we might not even use them. So I suggest that you forget about them for now. Know that they exist and they are used sometimes, but for now, remember that. It's enough to remember that you need a 3D tool. In this case, it's Blender. A 2D tool for photo bashing, so Photoshop or Krita, and a compositing tool, Nuke. So, when do we use 2D and when do we use 3D? So, or should I say, what are pros and cons with 2D and 3D? By 2D, I mean photos and photo bashing. 3D, it's, well, obviously 3D techniques. Photos, well, they have best realism and detailed fidelity, and they're fast and efficient. So what does that mean? It means, let's say, for example, you have a scene in an environment with some characters doing whatever, and the director wants to have mountains in the far background. It's always faster to put some to get pictures of mountains and just to put them in the background, and that's it. You're pretty much finished. Maybe you need to color correct them or something, but that's basically it. They look good, they look real, and you know, when you'll see, I'll be talking about one particular example. When you have a good nothing can replace a good 2D photo. And a photo has a 3D, any 3D basically cannot compete with 2D in terms of realism and detail fidelity, which is extremely important when doing things that are close up. So the only 3D I think that can compete with photos are 3D scans. Otherwise, photos will always look better, and in my opinion, they'll always look more real and better than anything that you make in 3D. On the other hand, we have this one big con, and that is that photos are situational. So let's go back to that mountain example. Let's say that those mountains have to be, let's say, Alps, and they have to be lit in a certain way. So let's say it's afternoon, it's 4 o'clock, and the light is coming from the right side of the shot. If you don't have photos from photos of Alps in a specific angle that are like quality photos, so they have been taken good, that are lit in the that have light on them, that they are lit in the way that you want. If you don't have those photos, then you either have to look like search for right references, or you have to make them in 3D. And yeah, this can potentially be a big problem. I remember that there was when I was working in the studio, we almost it's fun. It's kind of funny story in retrospective, but we almost failed a shot to do a shot because we didn't found references, but we in the last minute we actually managed to find them. So 3D. Uh, 3D has a huge advantage. That is, you can make anything, and I don't think I can explain why is it good. Why is that good? When you're 3D doesn't have any limitations like a photo, and I think the only real objective limitations can be your computer. But otherwise, you can make anything you want. But but the problem is, it's obviously a slower process to make anything in 3D, and and it takes time to learn 3D if you don't know it. So basically, the way I work is I always try to resolve problems with 2D as much as I can, and I always go to 3D when I don't have any other choice. Now, it's all based on case by case, but generally I prefer 2D because of the speed and efficiency. Okay, so before talking about misconceptions about DMP online, let's talk about what your job as a DMP artist is. I mean, yes, on the surface, you, like I said, you make set extensions and backgrounds and whatever. But what is really your job? Your job as a matte painter is to sell the illusion of the environment or extended set that you've made. You also have to do it in the most efficient and cheapest way possible, and sometimes by any means necessary. You basically have to trick the audience into thinking that the matte painting you made is a real location, and oh, sorry, just a second. Sorry, guys. Okay. You basically have to trick the audience into thinking that the matte painting you made is a real location that was captured by camera lens. Note that I didn't say that you have to trick people into thinking that your matte painting is real. That's not the same thing. We observe our world with our eyes, while films are captured with camera lenses. And what's captured by camera lenses isn't 100% comparable with what we see with our own eyes. There are many quirks with cameras that isn't possible to experience with human eyes. For instance, a bloom. Bloom isn't possible to see with a naked eye. It's completely an optical illusion, or should I say optical trick. Uh, so matte painting is kind of weird. I mean, we use as a job. We are like borderline magicians. Everything we do is smoke and mirrors. We use 3D, and yet all of our work ends up in some kind of 2D form, with which we fake 3D space. It probably sounds confusing, but it will make sense as we go through our classes. A DMP artist has to be a super versatile 2D and 3D generalist, but at the same time, you don't have to master any program or any technique. You do have to have an excellent eye for detail. Yes, I'm recording this PCZB. Don't worry. So where did I? Okay, so you don't have to master any program or any technique. You have to have an excellent eye for detail, but otherwise you can, for example, have basic drawing skills. You don't have to be super clean 3D modeler. You can get away with, for using certain 3D programs to do specific things, etc. And I would, and this is going to sound spicy, but I would argue that you don't have to be a painter at all to be great at this discipline. Okay, so our work needs to look photographic, and this is an example. Very good example, I think. This is a matte painting done by Dylan Cole from the movie Superman Returns. This is one of two matte paintings that he made, I think. So why is this matte painting good? Because it's, of course, it's good on an artistic level, and I'll be mentioning that later. But it's also extremely good on technical level. So I hope you can see this. Every detail is sharp and clear. There are no smudged parts or parts with implied details. Everything is as is. So it looks, simply speaking, it looks like it was a real location taken with a photo. With a photo apparatus. It might sound harsh, but our work has to be done on this level. This is how the things are. Matte painting is basically the finished product, and it has to look polished. A DMP that isn't polished is unfinished, and therefore it's bad. And trust me, it's not that hard to achieve this level. It really isn't. You'll see later. Okay. Unfortunately, what you see on ArtStation and online in general isn't reflective of the reality of the DMP job. This is also going to sound harsh, but almost every DMP that I've seen online that wasn't made by an actual professional matte painter was bad. And it doesn't really have anything to do with the person's skill most of the time. The main culprit here is how they approach DMPs. So this is a screenshot that I've taken from ArtStation. It was a couple of weeks ago. And basically this is the matte painting tab. And I kid you not, the only like real matte painting here is this one. And lo and behold, it was made by an actual matte painter. The rest of it, okay, so this is made by Steve Corman. This is he's also a matte painter. He's a very good matte painter, but this one is unfinished. He said so himself. This could be a matte painting, but needs more work. This too. This probably. This is an illustration. This has matte painting. This has some matte painting qualities, but it's not a matte painting. This, I thought it was a skybox art, but actually this is like this illustration. I don't know what this person was thinking. I mean, it's weird. You can say that the same thing is with the concept art, that the concept art is pretty misrepresented online, and the things you see on ArtStation aren't reflective of what you actually do as a concept artist. But I think the main problem here is that there aren't many matte painters that actually talk about matte painting. They are few and far between. Same here. This is like when you upload the artwork on ArtStation, you pick your subject matter. This is done by Steve Corman. This is an actual matte painting. This is an illustration. This is an illustration. This is almost a matte painting. I generally have a beef with this term matte painting Like, it almost has nothing to do with the way we do matte paintings today. People call it digital matte paintings, but still, I don't know. If you want, so anyway, if you want to see matte paintings and you want to see it, should I say, in a reliable way, you have to Google VFX breakdowns of a film. So pick any film that you like. Google VFX breakdown and try to research who were the artists doing those matte paintings. Otherwise, if you just go online and search matte paintings on Google, you might have to go through piles of illustration and finished matte paintings before you encounter something good. And with that, let's talk about common myths and misconceptions. And we will start with the most bitterest pill to swallow, and that is DMP artist isn't a painter. He is more similar to a set builder than a painter. Glass matte paintings are a thing of past, and for a good reason. The reason why we use 3D and photos instead of painting is that humans can't replicate reality and photographic detail perfectly. We just can't. It's a limitation of our brains and our motor skill. And I'm speaking from experience. Whenever me and other colleagues try to paint details by hand, the end result always looked worse than when we put a photo with the same subject side by side. Same thing happened when we tried to blend photos together with adjustments layers and like overlays or whatever to fake lighting or artificially add detail. It just doesn't work. Your skills just can't compete with photos in 3D, however you turn it. And if you don't believe me, I have a perfect example for you. So here we have 2 tree trunks. I never show these tree trunks to anyone. I've kept them as a memento from my studio as a memento why you should always look for good references instead of painting and doing like or try to look for, to do quick fixes. So I'm gonna take this a little bit slow as I recall what actually happened here. We were doing VFX work for a film called On the Milky Way, and there was a scene where I think it was supposed to be in the end of the movie, where our main character has to traverse on the chasm. He has to go on the other side of the chasm, big chasm, and there's a tree in the chasm that was struck by lightning some time ago, so it fell. And it was kind of old and kind of rotten, but it was long enough for him to traverse to the other side of the chasm. The scene was completely CGI, except of our main character, of course. We had footage of him and footage of him crossing a freshly cut piece of log. So what that meant is we had to make the whole environment and we had to make that log in sorry, I call it log. That's what we used to call it in the studio. We had to make the tree in 3D too. And keep in mind that this is 2014. This We were making this in 2014 and 15, I think. And maybe they started working on it before I came to the studio in 2013. So this was a completely different time. I think if we were doing this today, we wouldn't have much difficulties as we had it back then. So we had to make the CG tree, and the tree would blend with the real tree that the actor was walking on. But here we have the problem. The tree that he was walking on was didn't look right. It was cut, but it looked like it was cut yesterday. It was too fresh. Well, the tree in the movie, it was struck by lighting. It fell, and it was laying there for some time. So it was kind of old and kind of rotten. So we basically had to make an old-looking dead tree, which in the end we made it as a matte painting basically. We had no other way to make it and make it look good. Okay. Oh, one thing I just remembered. Why we had to make it as a matte painting? Because we had two kind. The tree was has been the tree was appearing in two types of shots. One type of shot where the camera was like I don't know, 20 meters 20 meters from it, like above the tree, and looking at it straight at it. Basically it was at a 180-degree angle, but looking at the floor. I hope I'm explaining it in the right way. I hope I'm not confusing you guys. And so in the distance was like this, and the other types of shot was extreme close-up, like this. Basically it was this big, as you see it on the screen. So so every micro detail was could be seen on the tree trunk. And here we have another problem. They photographed the tree that the main actor was walking on, and but the tree was wrongly lit. I mean, it is as if they shot the footage of the actor at a good time of the day when they were lit properly, and they photographed the tree in like 2 hours later when the sun started to be cloudy. So basically we had the references that were unusable because the tree the sun was shining on the tree, but it wasn't as strong as it should be. And tree on the left was a 3D render, which was, yeah, that's right, Rune. Clouds messed everything up, or should I say the people who photographed this messed everything up, to be honest. This is on the left. We have a 3D render, which was okay for the like distance shots like this, but since we had to do extreme close-ups, they were basically all usable as a base only, because we had to match like the close-ups with the distance shots. The tree on the right was done by me, and this is the best that I could with like this tree on the left as a base, and photos that I found on the internet. I just couldn't find the tree bark right tree bark textures, and I've tried everything to make this look good, but it never looked as good. And I should say and I should add that this tree was made. My studio was making this tree for a year on and off. We had other projects, but we were making this tree on and off for a year. It went it went through hands of at least 6 people, including me, and this was hell, absolute hell. I think that I mean the whole movie was hell. Our director almost quit after it. I mean that's another story altogether. But so this is basically a result of this tree on the right. So 1 year later, I did it as best as I could. I mean, it's not swan enough, but whatever. Let's continue. And then one day, how our main digital compositor went on a weekend somewhere on a mountain or hiking. I don't know what he was doing exactly. I do not know that he was on a mountain and that he found a tree that wasn't the same size or the same type as the one in the film, but it had almost exactly the same texture, maybe a bit bigger, I'm not sure, but basically the exact same texture, and it was lit exactly the same way as the tree from the movie. So he took a bunch of photos of it, like good quality photos, and he gave it to me the next day, or I don't remember, after the weekend. And this is the result. Boom! I did this in 3 hours. 3 hours, guys. And in that 3 hours, I made 90% of. I finished this. I finished it 90% in 3 hours. So this is 3 hours with good photos, good references, and on the right we have 1 year, or should I say 6 months on, let's say 6 months, okay? 6 months on and off, scraping the bottom of the reference barrel. And this is how it looked in the final version. We lowered the exposure of the tree bark because they would lit it even more in the compositing. Never mind. So this is why we use references and why we don't paint. We don't do layer adjustment bullshit in Photoshop. I mean, this is the reason. It just saves time and energy and mental energy too. And here we have a close-up. So on the top we have the 3D. It's low res, but even if it wasn't low res, it couldn't compete with this tree that I've made with real photos. And even then, you can see the struggle here. It's almost monochrome. Some parts are sharp, some parts are blurry, some parts do not blend well. And you have, of course, we have our final tree here, and it's 1,000 times better than anything here. And I'm gonna zoom, and I hope you can see this. Look at this crisp detail. most importantly, look at these color shifts, these hue shifts. I mean, I did color correct this tree to look more paler, and I probably uh, uh, put an accent on some colors in the tree bark. I mean, I'm almost sure that I did, but still, I didn't go and manually paint in these micro details. Look at this. It is beautiful. And you cannot paint this. You cannot do this from imagination. And you cannot even replicate this. And even if you can, the photo is still photo apparatus is still faster than you. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, where we use photo references and we don't paint. This, like I said before, this may look okay, especially in comparison to this, but it doesn't hold water against this. And now I have another interesting example, a bit different. So again, this is a scene from Mad Max Fury Road. I think this is the middle of the movie. Our heroes have been chased through a hot desert, and the day has passed, and this scene takes in the very early morning. And I was in the theaters. I loved the movie, and then this scene came up and took me completely out of the movie. I was looking at it and I thought, like, what the hell is this? I mean, movie was, I know it was filmed in the desert. It was also the desert in the movie was very hot. Everything was very red, and now you're trying to sell me the story that the desert in the mornings are like this blue and they're this wet and they're foggy. Like, what the hell, man? Like, this is too much. And then years and years and years later, I found a website with like the original shots of the movie and the final original footage, original screenshots of the movie, and final and the final shots of the movie, like before and after comparison. And I found this scene, and this is how it looked when they shot it on location. Like, wow. And this is the same this is the same location that they filmed in the day, guys. Like, I think this is the it's called a Nubian desert, I think. I forgot, unfortunately. Feel free to correct me. But yeah, this is the morning in the desert. It's foggy. It's really, really foggy. And the biggest difference between the original footage and the final shot in the film is the color grading. And of course there are random water puddles here and there. The fog is I think it's thicker, but yeah, basically, yeah, it's completely this is a completely plausible scenario, like having a extremely hot desert a day and very cold and foggy morning. Or should I say not cold but wet. So the lesson here is you don't know what you don't know. Always, this is the another reason why we use references and we use research, because your brain is your brain fills is weird. It feels it almost as if it fills holes where you have your knowledge holes. It fills with them with something else, and what you may think that looks right probably doesn't look right at all in reality. So something to think about. And yeah, maybe some of you think like, yeah, deserts can do that, but I didn't know that, and I didn't even research. And then years later, this shot caught me by surprise. Okay, the next point is DMP job isn't very creative. So this isn't a big point like the previous one, but I wanted to mention this because I've seen plenty tutorials and courses online where they package matte painting with environment design. Uh, the truth is, while you'll be doing that sometimes, environment design is a very small part of our job. Most of the time, you will be matching existing sets or backgrounds referenced from other shots, and even in the best case possible, where you are creating a 3D matte paint from scratch, where you have a shot with a dynamic camera, a dynamic moving camera, and you have creative control over its movement, it will always be bound by some parameters. At very least, it will be the time of day in geography. But yeah, most of the time, creative decisions are out of control, and all the creative decisions were made by concept artists and art director. And honestly, in my experience, the creative parts of DMP pipeline are the easiest ones. It happens in the very beginning when you're discussing the shot composition, and based on what kind of shot you're doing, it's also at the very end uh, when you're doing final color corrections, effects like blue, motion blur, maybe even some very simple VFX, and the other. It isn't comparable to other creative jobs like concept art. Uh, Concepting parts of DMPs are always very quick and very messy. Uh, Polishing everything to its final state is much more time consuming, and it will be your biggest concern. Uh, and yeah, at least 50% of your problems will be technical. Because like I already said, we're trying to sell an illusion. This is something that audience in the movies are going to see, and if it isn't polished, it's not going to work. It will fail. And this, and just want to mention this briefly because this isn't our concern. But if you when I started to work in a VFX studio as a matte painter, I was doing a lot of groundwork. I was doing a lot of cleanups, quick fixes, small fixes to shots like element or removing elements, uh, removing some elements that were out of control of the director and the cinematographer. And you've seen them right here, like see this car and these lights. I think that's also a car. They had to be removed by matte painter, and they like this car, like they would probably be removed like this, something like this. I would pick this piece of desert or something like maybe this one on the other side. Copy paste. Go here, just a little bit. Then blend it a little bit. There's a sharp border here. Then color corrected. So, oops. So basically you'd make a patch. So I'm doing this very quickly. Here. I mean, I did this very quickly, but I think you uh, get what I'm trying to say. There is tons of work that's like this, and I mean tons. For every one like big sexy matte painting, you have 20 of these shots that had to be cleaned up. And it's something that absolutely nobody talks about in the matte painting community. Like this is such a minor stuff that is kind of very important, and it really isn't mentioned anywhere. Okay, so here's a castle from Game of Thrones, and it's generally it's it's almost like a stereotypical matte painting job. Like here, make a castle and make a cliff with the castle. Uh, so I have to preface this that I didn't work on Game of Thrones, and I don't know anybody who worked on Game of Thrones. But I'm pretty sure that how they made this matte painting, it went something like this. So this is a plate. A plate is when you take a single frame from a shot and you use it to make as a reference for your matte painting. So this is a plate. Next, this plate will be given to a matte painter. A matte painter would then make, in this case, he would make like a very simple 3D models. This is basically the extent of concepting in the most cases. When it's approved, he would then take photos and start stitching them and photo bashing them over the cliff. I mean 3D model of the cliff. I don't. In this case, I mean, this is a very low resolution, so I don't. So I'm not completely sure, but I think they basically photo bashed photos of a cliff over the 3D model. They didn't actually use 3D. Also, they obviously overlaid the castle textures over the 3D model. I can see it. I mean, I might be wrong, but still. And then this is the final image. They also replaced the sky and did some additional color grading here. So here, here's what I what I thought when I was talking how DMP job isn't too creative. We have your first restriction. We have a shot and a shot composition. A matte painter didn't have any say in it. Also, these 3D rock, this 3D cliff and castle. The matte painter didn't have anything to say in terms of castle design. He either did it based on concept art or even he did it based on another shot from another angle. I admit I never watched Game of Thrones, so I don't know. He also didn't have any say about how cliffs look, most likely. I wouldn't be surprised if he had to match these cliffs from the other scenes from the show, from the same location. And he did have a say in details. I mean, he had enough freedom to like make it design it like he had a freedom where to put details, but otherwise he didn't actually design this cliff. You know what I'm saying. So basically, what Matt Painter was given here was a blueprint, and he just made the scene from the set blueprint, which is, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, but don't expect. What I'm trying to say is that don't expect that Matt Painter is an environment designer at the same time, because it isn't. And if even if you do, even if you do environment design, it will be on this level basically. And maybe if even if they're painted, they will be painted in a very simple way. So, in conclusion, what kind of mindset do you need to have to be successful as a DMP artist? Well, you have to start thinking through the lens of the camera. Start thinking like a photographer or cinematographer. Uh, you have to be objective. Always look at things not as 2D images, but not as 2D images with like hues and colors, but as they are and as how they work in real life. So think about things more in terms like temperature or exposure. Uh, you have to be patient and thorough because matte paintings take time to get made. Uh, this so even like this shot, this is something that isn't made in one day. The only matte paintings that you do in one day are like something that is like grunt work or like something very super simple, which doesn't uh, happen much. Uh, and last and not least, and this is probably going to sound weird, but you have to be honest with yourself. Because sooner or later, you will be tempted to do bad work. You will be in a position where you realize that you'll need to do more work than you thought to get the job done. Maybe it's because you had a plan to resolve a problem and the plan didn't work and you have to start all over again. That can include a part of your DMP or sometimes maybe your whole DMP. Maybe you'll be pressured by time restrictions or other outside factors. Uh, Deep inside, you will know that whatever you did isn't working, and that as a result, the work isn't up to par. And this is the part where you're going to be tempted to do shoddy work, like quick work, like just like fix it quickly, or send it down the pipeline to the digital compositors to assemble it, like something like that. Uh, this is when you have to take a deep breath and accept that it will take you more time and energy to resolve this situation, and just do it. Um, because in the end, you will do a good job and you will be happy. Otherwise, you will, if you quickly slap things together, it will never look good. And I know this from experience. And paradoxically, it will always take you longer or probably never to fix your problem with quick fixes instead of choosing the harder, slower, and more tedious path. I'm also talking this in my experience. So I think this is a perfect time to take our first 5 minute break. And also, I want you to simmer with this knowledge that you've just learned. So let's take a break and see you in 5 minutes. Okay, we are back. Uh, just a second. Okay. Uh, hopefully I haven't demoralized you guys with this talk so far. I don't want you to think that photorealism is end all be all, and that matte painting is all about matching photos and footage and matching reality, because it really isn't. In fact, the artistic vision always comes first in movies. Uh, Here's the screen cap that I took from Feng Zhu's video cinematic lighting. Here's the full video title. I suggest that everyone here watches it. One of the key takeaways from the video is that every movie is visually manufactured. What we see here are scenes from Mulan trailer and Game of Thrones. Now the footage from the footage is color graded and color corrected, of course, but it is otherwise filmed on a real set. So technically, the footage is photoreal as it has been taken with a real camera. But the thing is that the sets themselves have been tempered to look visually appealing. Here we can see like blown out windows here and here and here and here, which doesn't happen in real life. There's fog. I think there's a little bit of fog here too. So the sets have been tempered. Every shot has a clear foreground, midground, background. There are a bunch of light sources in the sets that are off screen that shouldn't exist in real life, but they're used to make the scene look better and more clear. Like, I mean, you can see in this screen cap, but they're like reflections on this teapot from unknown sources of light, for instance. And we've seen some Mad Max Fury Road screenshots, and the movie is heavily color graded, and yet I've never heard anyone complaining about the visuals from the movie. The matter of fact is that reality often doesn't look visually appealing. It's pretty random and inconsistent, actually. A huge number of movies use tricks like the ones we see here, and more, but often you don't notice them unless you're paying close attention. When a person is complaining how a movie looks bad or flat, it's most likely because of cinematography or lack thereof. So it's very important how shots look from an artistic sense, and sometimes you can even get away with somewhat fake CG looking shots if your cinematography looks amazing. But you constantly have to keep these things in check. Keep yourself in check, because if you don't, your work might look something like this. This is my first ever matte painting that I did in 2014, and damn, this is so bad. This, not only is this a bad matte painting, this doesn't even work as an illustration. I mean, where do we start? How about classic spiky mountains? Here and here and here, or are they rocks? We don't know, because the scale is unclear. They might be rocks, they might be mountains, we don't know. And speaking of mountains, what the hell is what the hell are these textures? I mean, this is like almost random. This isn't made in 3D as it should have been. The light is painted. This sky is simultaneously blurry and sharp. And if you guess that this is water, I mean, you deserve a fucking medal, because this is almost incomprehensible. And I made this matte painting when I first started, like in 2014, and I didn't know anything that I didn't know any things that I've told you guys uh, tonight. And my instructor didn't tell me because I don't know. I guess uh, he didn't want to hurt my feelings or something. Not sure. And this matte painting I made 5 years later in 2019, and it's obviously much better. It's based on concept art by Jonathan Dufresne. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And go ahead and check him out. He's pretty cool. So I made this in 2019, 5 years later. And considering I made this after my 2-year hiatus from matte painting, it took me 3 years to get to this level. And the only reason it took me 3 years is that I didn't know the stuff I was talking about today. It took me a lot of time and trial and error to get here, and I paid my mistakes with a lot of crunch. And it really didn't have to be this way. And this is the main point of this talk today. This is why you're having this talk. This is the talk I wish someone gave me in 2014. I think you can go to this, get to this level, or better, in the less time that I did, or at very least with a lot of less pain and stress. And I'll be, and essentially I'll be, that's what I'll be doing. That's what I'll be doing. I'll try my best to help you with that. But before we do anything, even simple 2D stuff, we had to have this talk and set your expectations about this discipline the right way, because your mindset is your biggest obstacle. If you can get over what DMP discipline actually is, you will have a bad time. At best, you will make high-tier concept art and keyframes, but they will never have detail fidelity and realism of a legit DMP. And you have to trust me when I say that when you set your mentality right, you win the half of the battle with that alone. What I also want to say is that matte painting is fun and creative, but in a different way. I like to compare DMPs with two Legos. I found this picture randomly. I don't know how I found it. This is a Lego recreation of Terran faction from StarCraft 2. The guy who made this didn't invent anything new. He just converted graphics from a video game into a Lego form. He had to essentially redesign the units and buildings and try to keep their important visual characteristics as Legos. Otherwise, he didn't make anything new. I imagine that it took a lot of time to do this, and probably a lot of back and forth. But we can all agree that at the end the result looks pretty awesome. It's the same thing with DMPs. They take time to make, and if you're doing advanced stuff, you'll often have to deal with solving all kinds of technical problems. But when you finish your job and do it right, and the result looks great, it's the best feeling in the world. Absolutely the best. Okay, so what are my plans for future classes? Okay, first of all, everybody is welcome. Uh, it doesn't matter if you just want to try some matte painting techniques or you are considering your career as a matte painter, like everybody's welcome. Uh, uh, what I was talking, tonight I was talking about live action in movies, but everything here basically can apply to like stuff like animation or video games, like skybox art. Uh, we'll be doing every therefore we will be doing every technique, everything that I know from basic to advanced. We will be doing 2D and 3D simultaneously. uh, I think that most beginner courses or tutorials for matte painting, they omit 3D, and it's a big mistake in my opinion. uh, there are some things that are simply much more easier to do in 3D, or problems that are easier to fix in 3D, like buildings. If you do it in 2D, you're basically testing your luck if you can find right references for the job. We won't be doing any bullshit. So I've seen some stupid stuff on the internet, like stupid challenges, like conversion from day to night, or turn summer scene into winter scene, and these things are extremely difficult to pull off, especially for a beginner. They take take up too much time, and in most cases they are impossible to solve. So we won't be doing that unless you guys are actually interested in doing it. I mean, only if you're interested. So there will be basically, I planned on doing like 4 classes and a bunch of additional workshop. The classes will probably look like this. The first class and the next one in the line is DMP 101. This is the only class where we will be doing 2D only. We will be I will be doing a demo in Photoshop, and I will be talking about photo bashing and how to do it cleanly, and what we use in Photoshop, what parts of Photoshop we use. Like I said, we use like maybe 30% of Photoshop Max, and that's why I think Krita, or maybe even your drawing program that you like to use, maybe that will suffice. Next, when we the next class is DMPs with static cameras, where we will, like the title said, we will be doing a simple DMP with a static camera. This is where we will be using 3D. It won't be anything complicated, I think. Then we will transition to fake 3D DMPs using projections. I think you've seen already projections. So 3D projections are a trademark skill set of a matte painter. Just a second. Where is it? Yeah, this. It's a trademark skill of a matte painter, and basically, if you don't today, if you're a matte painter and you don't know this, nobody is going to take you seriously. So it's basically making a 2D matte painting, then projecting that 2D elements on a geometry or a card as a texture, except it's much more easier than standard texture in 3D. And basically, it's a technique where we fake a 3D space using 2D elements. It's like I said, our trademark technique. It's efficient, it's fast, it's efficient, it's fun, it's great. You're gonna like it. We will probably be using the DMP that we did here as our for our projections. And in the end, we will be doing 3D DMPs. So basically, we will be doing full 3D environments using every single technique that we've learned previously. This will be the most advanced class. Like I said, we will be doing workshops. Here on these classes, I'll be only teaching techniques, and I won't be covering every single situation. There are many unique situations and many case by case situations, case by case problems, and we will be addressing them in workshops. I'll be having some ideas of which ones should be, and if any one of you has suggestions, I'm open to it. Also, I'm open to like random workshops where we collab with, like, I don't know, animators or 3D artists if there are any 3D artists on this server. So I mean, if you have an idea, what I'm saying, if you have an idea for a workshop, don't be afraid to contact me. And next, the last thing is Unreal Engine. So I don't know if any of you follow Unreal and its development, but Unreal Engine, or should I say real-time rendering, is going to be the way of the future, and it's pretty much inevitable. And even right now, I'm considering studying Unreal Engine for as a rendering engine for matte paintings. Basically, basically, if my theory is right, I might stop using Maya and 3D software for rendering and just use Unreal Engine. But this is something I have to test alone on myself on my free time, and I'm not completely sure it's going to work. So this is just and if it works, I plan on doing an additional class on doing matte paintings with Unreal Engine, and by that I do not mean like doing 3D art or 3D environments with Unreal Engines. Basically using these techniques that we learn up here and using Unreal Engine only as a rendering engine. And based on what I've done, I think that even right now Unreal Engine is and Unreal rendering is like way faster and way more efficient than like standard rendering with Redshift or Blender internal render or whatever. But these 4 classes will come first. Do not expect an Unreal Engine class anytime soon. I wouldn't be surprised if you see it like next year or not even then. These 4 classes and even workshops will have a higher priority. And this is the end of the presentation. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening to through my ramblings and my mumbling. I hope I didn't confuse anyone. If you go to bot command and type in !snowman, you'll receive links to my Instagram and Coffee. My preferred so the here on the screen are some links. First one is for my ArtStation. That's my preferred social network. Then we have Instagram. I have also a Twitter account, and do not worry, I don't do politics. I don't post about political stuff. I don't post about social justice stuff. I use it to promote my art and nothing else. Um, I may like or share something that I think it's really cool, but otherwise I just use it to promote my art. And I also have a coffee page. Again, type in this link or type in exclamation mark snowman in the bot command. You'll receive the link to my coffee page. You can, if you want to support me, you can donate here. It will be much appreciated. It would mean that the classes will that I'll be working more on these classes. They will come sooner. And that's it. So if anyone has any questions, we can do a Q&A. If you don't, we can do like these 4 bonus segments. What do you say, chat? You're welcome, Senna. And Kiwi3 and Kibbles. You're welcome, Malako. Okay, so we have several people typing. Okay, Root Collector has a question. What would you say is the percentage slash proportion of the artistic vision versus realism in DMP jobs? Well, hmm. Well, you have. I don't know if I can. If I can like say like exact percentage, but uh, like I said, the artistic vision is the most important. At the end of the day, films are here to entertain you and to be visually entertaining. So you have one extreme, which you often see on the internet, where you have like really nice looking illustrations or uh, I mean generally illustrations that they are artistically good, but they don't have a like detail fidelity. And on the other hand, you have the most extreme where you have like a super awesome like photorealism, but you have no but the image has no artistic merit, has no cinematography, etc. So I don't know if I answer your question, but you always have you always have to have artistic vision. I mean, there has to be something artistic in the shot. But the point is that that's as a matte painter that's out of your hands most of the time. Okay, what software we should should we download the kit bash for? So you make an account, and then you download the kit bash kit, and you'll have several options. You have options for Blender, for Maya, and for other software. And when you select the software, you have the options for the separate option for the render of the software. So you don't have to worry about it. We will be using Blender. If you never done 3D, would it be hard to follow along? Well, yes and no. I mean, it would be useful for you to download a Blender and just get familiar with it. You don't have to be a master. I mean, you can always uh, tag me for or some other 3D artist for help, but it's recommended that you're familiar with Blender. What's your personal favorite part of doing work like this? Building stuff. It's the most fun. I mean, when you have technical problems, when you want to do something and it's impossible, or your computer is not powerful enough, that's the time when the job isn't much fun. But overall, the building part, that's the most important, most fun part, and the part on the very end when you're doing 3D matte paint, and like I said, doing small VFX, doing color corrections and blue and stuff, and doing finishing touches. That's arguably the most fun part. And what's the most difficult process when doing matte painting? Uh, in general, I mean, using not knowing 3D and using bad references. That's the most difficult part of the most difficult process. But the most difficult parts are, I guess, unforeseen problems, and then you just have to wing it, solve them. Oh, and the most difficult, well, the most difficult thing I had is that I ever had to do is basically train my eye to differentiate hues and values in the photo, so I could blend the photos more efficiently. But that's something you just have to practice and develop over time. Oh, is there a tutorial you would recommend to get ourselves familiar with Blender? Well, you can find plenty of tutorials on YouTube. From what I would personally recommend you is there's a guy called Blender Guru, and just follow his tutorials. He has a tutorial how to model a chair. I would highly recommend it to follow it to the T, and that should be enough. I mean, just so you know, it's going to take me some time to make next class, like at least a month. So uh, you you guys will have more than enough time to familiarize yourself with Blender. So if does anyone has any more questions? Yeah, you're welcome, Jujuba. You have advice on how to get into the industry slash job starting out for this? Oh, well, yes and no. I mean, I've been on, I have experience, but on the other hand, I have been on hiatus for like 2 years. Um, and right now, the global pandemic has screwed things around, so there aren't much matte painting jobs uh, as far as I can see. But I would suggest that you do some well, you do stuff that is real, not some sci-fi made up stuff, but stuff grounded on reality. Basically, the stuff that I will. It's too much to talk about. I mean, it will be the stuff I will be covering in my classes. How did I get in? By sheer luck, absolutely sheer luck. Uh, the studio that I worked for, they have like VFX, plenty VFX courses, and I've started the matte painting course into end of 2013, I think. No, it was yes, at the end of the 2013. Um, and after that, I finished that course. I've gotten in an short internship in that studio, and I got the job there. And I know the only reason I think I got the job is that I worked my ass off, and they recognize that. Otherwise, you've seen my first matte painting, how it looked. Other otherwise I don't know how to explain why they hired me. And they needed the matte painters too, so I was really lucky. But that shouldn't discourage you guys from doing this. Really, you always need a little bit of luck, always, anytime in your life. Yeah, get good, but Mavaku, but also you gotta be on the in the right place in the right time sometimes. But I think that's true for life in general, unfortunately, or fortunately, how you depends how you look at it. So, any questions? Any more questions? How was my day? Well, okay, I guess. I feel a bit energized right now, so that's great. Uh, if anyone else doesn't have any questions, do you guys have will and strength to do bonus segments? 4 bonus segments with stories that were a little bit off topic, so I cut them off from the main main presentation. What you say, chat? Very well. Bonus segments are a go. So this won't take too long. So do you guys wanna like a 5 minute break right now, or should I just go for it and finish it? Finish the fight. Okay, let's go for it. Let's go. Go, go, go. Okay. Okay, so first up, this is a bit off topic because I'll be talking to you guys not not as much as a matte painter, but as an artist, excuse me, in general. These are possibly my 4 favorite books that I have. Uh, excuse me. This one is Scott Robertson. The first two are made by Scott Robertson, How to Draw and How to Render. This one is Color and Light by James Gurney. And the fourth one is Framed Ink, which is basically a book about shot composition and framing. I recommend everyone to get these books, and if you can only get one, get this one, Color and Light. In my humble opinion, if you do art and you don't have this book, and you don't have a good reason, you don't have a legitimately good reason to not have this book, like you don't have money, or the country you live in, it can be shipped to a country where you live in, or etc. I will not take you seriously. So I've been in an art school, Faculty of Fine Arts in Belgrade. I have a master's degree in printmaking. I attended a couple of matte painting courses, one from my studio, another for 3D matte painting on Learn Squared. And I'm self-taught at concept art, and by some degree in matte painting too. So I can say that I've been on both sides of the fence in terms of art education. As a DMP artist, and I recommend this to you other artists as well, you will have to start reading up how the world works. And I do mean reading up. Reading up on cinematography, lighting, camera lenses, and their uses, and other technical things. Our world works on a set of rules, and if you want to replicate reality, or at the very least make something visually appealing, you have to know this set of rules. These books contain general fundamental knowledge of art and how the world works, and this is the type of knowledge that I've come to favor over the years. I'm not a fan of tutorials. Most tutorials that I've seen teach techniques and tricks, which is fine, but I don't think that tutorials can substitute the fundamentals. They won't magically make you a better artist by themselves. The reason why almost all art schools suck, and suck hard, is that unless you have a great teacher, your art education is based on painting or drawing what you see, most often live models and still life, and repeating that process over and over again until you get good. Now, don't get me wrong, you have to draw and paint a lot to get good. In drawing and painting, anything is always better than doing nothing. But if you draw and paint stuff without knowledge of what's happening in front of you, and there's a lot, you'll essentially be relying on your intuition and muscle memory to figure out the stuff for you. And not only is this inefficient, but it puts you in the danger of becoming too reliant on references. Uh, I mean, I've seen people that can't draw or paint anything unless you find that one specific photo with the lighting, pose, or something else that you want to have in your image. You basically become a slave to your reference, which is very bad. I know there are people who became good by learning this way, by intuition, but they are very few and far between. So we won't learn anything concrete in art school. Stuff that I've read about in color and light, for example, I've never heard in my art school, which is a on paper a serious and a venerable art institution, and it's very shocking. Very. Uh, I would even go on a limb and say that something like reading up on camera lenses and three-point lighting is much more useful for you in the long run than something like doing a master's copy. And that's my hot take about art education. And I anyway, I recommend these books. These books are great. Also, I think that they're better than better value for than most art schools out there. These 4 books. Okay, so we have an old school matte painting by Peter Ellenshaw for the Stanley Kubrick's movie Spartacus. First of all, I'm sorry for the image quality. I mean, it doesn't serve this matte painting justice. I would have sworn that I found a 4K image of this original matte painting, but I couldn't find it. And on the right, we have the final shot from the movie, and I've seen like 5 different screenshots with on the internet with 5 different color gradings, and I do not know which one is like the true one, quote unquote. So have that in mind. With that being said, this is the most beautiful old school matte painting that I've ever seen, by far. Peter Ellenshaw was declared a Disney legend in 90s, and he really is a bloody legend. Like, I recommend everyone to look up a documentary about him. There's one on YouTube, and the guy was really great. I mean, this matte painting has, I don't know, and I don't know how to explain words why this matte painting is so great. I mean, there's something about it. The colors. I mean, you can't see it right here because of resolution. I mean, it doesn't really serve its justice, this image quality, but the resolution, the depth, the atmosphere, it's perfect. And I don't know how he did it. And yet there are a couple of things about this matte painting. First off, it wouldn't, despite everything, it wouldn't fly today. Because if you zoom in, you will clearly see brush strokes, and the painting obviously looks painted. It doesn't look photographic at all. And by the way, this is the same thing that Peter Ellenshaw himself said in the documentary. This is from the author's mouth. The only reason I think this matte painting was acceptable back in the day in the 60s, well, because of course it's amazing atmosphere, amazing depth, amazing colors. So that kind of balanced off it's how should I say, it's unphotographic qualities, its painterly qualities, and also it helps that back in the day, I imagine that movies were shown in theaters where projections camera weren't as good as today. and you'd watch movies on TVs which didn't have as good screens as the ones we have today. So I imagine that everything basically blended, everything blended helped blend the matte painting into the live action footage. So check out Peter Allen Shaw. He's awesome. He's truly a legend. Um, just a second. Let me check OBS. Okay, I'm still recording. This is a screenshot, screen cap from a movie After Image. So remember when I said that that matte painters have more duties, have more tasks, and basically that's not so true if you're doing freelance. Basically, you will be as a freelancer, you will be doing like standard matte paintings, nothing special. Only you'll be doing fancy stuff. But if you're in a studio, and especially if you're a newbie, you'll be doing plenty of grunt work, plenty of other stuff, and you'll be sometimes be asked to help other artists doing VFX. And this is an example of it. This movie, it's called After Image, and it's about a painter. It's a biographical movie about a painter in, I think, Poland. During basically during the communist regime after World War II. The painter, somehow I didn't watch the movie, but I know that painter lost his left leg and the right arm, and I was tasked to help uh, digital compositors in removing his limbs, essentially. So I don't remember if I worked on this shot specifically, but I remember it as if it was yesterday, and if they gave me this shot right now, I know how we would do it. So the actor had basically a big blue sock on his right leg, and he had a big blue glove on his left arm. So basically, this was his position on his left arm right here. And the sock and the glove were this big, so to to his elbow and to his knee respectively. So how did we do this? Well, I'm going to try to explain this as best as I can. So basically, a digital compositor would first pick his colors of his glove and his sock and basically delete them. And then you'd have a black hole where his sock was, essentially, and where his glove was. And then you had to fill this hole. And I made separate elements and basically separate layers. First layer was the background. In this case, grass. So I don't know, I would copy grass from this shot or from another and put it in position where his hole is and basically blend it out. Oops. Like this. I won't do it right now, but you get the gist. The layer in front would be his pants. So there would be a piece of he would have a piece of pants or piece of his jacket or shirt like dangling in the air, and I would make another layer with his pants. either I would copy pants from this shot, or they actually sent us the reference of his clothes, like a real good reference for real good reference that were photographed properly. So we had unlike that tree from before, we didn't have any problems in making patches for his pants and his sleeve here, or should I say jacket. So that would be the second layer, here and here. But what I also did was basically copy this stick. I would make another layer with this stick. And I hope you're following this. Like this, or again, they sent us photographs of the stick. So I'll make so this is bad, but I think you get what I'm trying to do. I would copy this stick, so make another layer with this stick, like front, back, and the handle. So we would have background elements which go behind him. Then in front of them we would have like pants or sleeve or jacket, and between them we would have the stick. And what I would give this to the digital compositors, and they would basically animate it and animated these two the elements animated to move a bit alongside him, except the background, of course, that always the background is always static, and it would all blend seamlessly. And I had to do this. I was doing this like 3 months on and off, and 3 months full time. I had half of the time I had to do multiple patches from different angles, because if the actor was moving or if he was turning around. And I'm going to try to restore it. And the end result will look like this, using only 2D, and it would look like really seamless. And I think that we used 3D only once. There was a very specific situation in a shot, and that's when we had to use 3D. And I hope I didn't confuse you guys. I mean, if you were there and seen it what we did, it would make a lot more sense, actually. And last but not the least is this. I saved up the fun for last. So do you guys remember when I said that sometimes you gotta do the job at any means necessary? Well, this is the case. So again, I didn't work on Superman Returns. I don't know anyone who worked on Superman Returns, and I don't know Dylan Cole. This is a story that I've heard like last year of at the time of this recording, and so you should take the story with a grain of salt. But based on my experience, what I did and what I have seen, I'm totally ready to believe the story is completely true. So this is Arctic or Antarctic, I'm not sure, where Superman's Fortress of Solitude is located. I didn't watch the movie, so I don't know. Dylan made two matte paintings, one here and the one which is basically the opposite side of this landscape. So camera, oops, where is it? Camera was like here, and looking in this looking at this way, it was moving. But anyway, uh, it was made back in 2006, and the guys had a problem. They had to make an icy landscape, and they didn't have any references from Antarctic or Arctic. And I'm not sure if you could pull this off with 3D. So what Dylan did, he made a power move, and he bought a block of ice. I'm not sure if it's a real ice, like a standard ice, or is it a dry ice. And he ordered a block of ice. It was delivered to his home. Then he took a hammer and a chisel, and then he started chiseling the ice and taking photos of the chiseled ice. And those were his references for this matte painting. And this in and I know for a fact if he did this, and I'm pretty sure that he did it. And I'm pretty I know for a fact that he didn't do this because he wanted to flex on the art department, like, oh, look at me, I made this ice using chisel ice. I did this by my own hands, haha. No, he did this because he had no other choice. There was no other choice. I don't know if you could this in 3D back then. I mean, as detailed as this looks, and I'm pretty sure there were no photos on the internet of Arctic or Antarctic, and I really think that it was pretty impossible to do this unless he bought, like, I don't know, a ticket to Antarctic, took some photos and came back with them. I don't think that was possible either. So he did the only thing that he could. The crazy as it sounds, maybe it was the only possible rational solution, and he did it anyway. I mean, I'm sure he didn't. He had zero. Uh, uh, he had zero experience in chiseling, and I'm pretty sure that he didn't want to chisel a block of ice and basically take a photo of it and do this every day, or maybe a couple of days straight. But he had to do the job, and he did it, and he did it masterfully. And this is the story I want to leave you at for today. Situation when you had to do take a deep breath and just do the task. And he did it, and the result is amazing. Again, I don't know if this is true, but based on my experience, I'm ready to believe this is true. And let me just take a look. Yeah, Minx, I think this might, yes, I think you found it, Minx. Yes, this is Minx has a link to high res picture of Peter Elenshaw's matte painting, but it looks weird. It's very sharp, and it's pretty blue. I don't remember. I think it has some kind of weird color grading. I'm pretty sure it has like a blue filter on it because it doesn't match with the picture I've seen earlier. Oh well. So this is it, guys. Again, thank you all for coming. I don't know how much is this going to be popular? In my experience, matte painting isn't very popular in comparison to concept art, and even in comparison to 3D art. But everyone who's interested, uh, everyone is welcome, and I'm honestly looking forward to doing these. And next class will be DMP 101, and it will take me some time to make it. This is not. I had to put a little bit of planning of this. This is not like a drawing tutorial or a drawing workshop. So you'll have plenty of time to familiarize yourself with Blender and with Nuke too. As for Nuke, you can to download Nuke, you need to go to their website, make an account, and you can download it from there. It's constantly updated. So, does anyone has any final questions? If not, we can wrap this up. And again, this is being recorded. It will be posted sometimes tomorrow maybe, or probably on the next week. Oh, do we need to know how to use Photoshop? You need to be familiar with the Photoshop. If you painted with Photoshop and drew in Photoshop, that's quite enough. I'll be guiding you through through Photoshop and what tools we use in it and techniques. And it's not much really. Yeah, Krita is available option because it's free and it's very similar to Photoshop. Has a similar, you can do similar stuff in it. Is Photoshop Elements okay? LT Enlighten 9. Okay, does Photoshop Elements has masks? If it has like things like basic things like masks, adjustment layers, don't have to be all adjustment layers, alpha channels, history, etc. Then I think it will be okay. We don't actually use much of Photoshop actually. It's very simple. I mean, Photoshop is a very deceiving program. It looks like it's complicated, but in actuality it has a bit too many options. You can do plenty of stuff in multiple ways. So I think that's it for the questions. Anyone has questions? Anyone?
Is this class going to be what's it called, recorded?
Yeah, I'm recording it right now. I'll be uploading it next week probably. It will be on YouTube.
Awesome.
You're welcome, Sticklets. You're welcome, Rune Collector. Okay, so I think this is it. We're wrapping this up. If you guys have any additional questions, if anything comes up, don't be afraid to ask me in the video chat. I'm often in the video chats drawing or doing something else here on the server. And like I said, the first real class will be ready in a month or so. I'll be taking a bit of time with it, so you'll have plenty of time to familiarize yourself with the software. So again, this is my ArtStation, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Coffee. If you'd like me to support me in this endeavor, if you type in the bot command !, snowman, you'll get all the important links. And that's it. Again, thank you all for coming. I'm looking forward to seeing you in my future classes. And with that, see you later, guys. Bye.